Hello, Ezemy one. I'm your usual everyday time puzzling rat girl, Ezemy Jika, and welcome back to Rat Run Tenacity, the second puzzle in the Rat Run series, which I will be hopefully solving to completion. Experiment 2, Beige, 12th of June, 1974. The preliminary experiment was an unmitigated success. Findings exceeded expectations. However, the beige maze will no doubt prove more challenging. Despite the seemingly straightforward test constraint, the larger maze will rules. Normal 8 by 8 Sudoku rules apply. Digits 1 through 8, row column, and marked 4 by 2 box. Remember, the experiment remains the same as last time. The pathing and the diagonal is the same thing. But the test constraint. In this experiment, any two adjacent digits along the correct path must sum to at least 10. And that does require a bit more scrutiny. So, let's have a look at the digits from 1 to 8. If we draw them out like so, we can draw connections between the ones that add up to 10. And those pairs of digits will be valid pairs along the line. So the easiest one to connect is 8. Larger digits will have more connections than smaller digits necessarily because they're closer to 10. So if we draw from 8, it can connect to 7, and 6, and 5, and 4, and 3, and 2. And the obvious constraint here might be obvious already, but let's just keep going. The 7 connect to anything 3 or above. The 6 can connect to anything 4 or above, and 5 can connect to, well, actually, there are a few more. The 5 can connect to itself. The 6 can also connect to itself. The 7 and the 8 can all connect to themselves. But there is one digit that cannot connect to anything, and that's the 1, because we don't have a 9, um, which would make 10. So the 1 cannot, there cannot be a 1 anywhere on the path in this puzzle. So let's put this over here and let's start the experiment. We've already gone over all the rules, so let's just get into it. So the first part of the path is going to be pretty easy. We have to go from here out. But if we go straight to the cupcake, that would be all 8 cells in this row, which necessarily will contain a 1, which is not allowed. So it cannot go through here. It has to reach the cupcake somehow. And here we have 7 of the 8 cells in this box being visited by the path, which means this one cannot be visited. It has to come out through here. If it goes up, that'll be all 8 cells in this column, which is not allowed. And here we also have another 7 of 8. And we can fill in these 2 digits already. They're 1s, which is going to put 1s up here as well, which cannot be visited by the path. We'll also put a 1 down here, a 1 over here. Now, the easy way would be for the path to just come through here and then go down to here. But that leaves all of this unvisited. So it feels too easy, but I don't know if there's a way to disprove it just yet. Well, there's this path. It can't go all the way through here. And because of the topology, I don't think it can go through this little hallway like this. Because if it does, it would necessarily have to come back through here. So it can't go through here. Let's see. It has to go through this cell, no matter what, because all of these paths sort of converge here. I suppose it might be worth looking at exactly what digits these have to be. Right. Now, we need to be looking at the chains of digits which work. The most constrained in this chain is the digit 2, which can only connect to 8. And we know there has to be a 2 somewhere on this line. And it's going to have to be here or here, because these could both be 8. But if this is an 8, this would be a 2, because the 2 has to connect to the 8. The 2 in this box also has to connect to an 8. So I think it has to go 2, 8, 3, 7, 4, 6, 5. And then in reverse order. 5, 6, 4, 7, 3, 8, 2. Aha! And that is why this cannot connect to here, because then this would also be another 8. So it has to go up, and it has to connect to another 8. And that means it has to wind through this passage as well, come down through here, and then go through here somehow. So there has to be a 1 in this section, there has to be a 1 over here. There has to be a 1 up here, and down here. I may as well fill this part in too. Now I did go over this chain rather quickly, so let's have a look at it in a bit more detail. So let's move these over here. And so if we look at this diagram, the 2 has to go to 8. And then if we look at this 3 here, it has to only connect to 8 and 7. And because the 8 already has 2 connections, this 4 only has 2 connections as well, which are the 7 and the 6. And then the 5 is the only digit left, meaning that is our full chain of unique digits. And the 5 can reverse the order, but if we're using one of every digit except for 1, this is the only chain that works. So let's get back to it. These 3 digits have to be, 3, 4, and 7. In order for these to add up, they can't be 3 and 4, so they have to contain a 7. This digit, well, this can be anything except 1. Up here, it seems unlikely that it'll touch one of these 2 cells, but it's not impossible because it can go diagonally. It could go like this, or just straight across. It can't touch both. It cannot touch both because there has to be a 1 up here. And of course, these boxes are not going to have all 7 digits visited. Well, let's just write out all the possibilities for these columns. There's only 4 digits. They are 2, 3, 6, and 7. And here they are 1, 4, 5, and 8. There has to be an 8 up here, which is interesting. 3, 2, 6, and 7. I don't think, yes, because the 6 can't connect to 2 or 3. The 6 in this column can only connect to 7, so it can't visit all 4 of the cells in a row. I guess there could be a 7. Wait, no, there has to be a 7 here, because we determined that it can't be in that part of the column. So there has to be a 7 here. And there can't be a 6. Well, the path cannot pass through this cell because the digits that could go here are not large enough. Um, or rather, these two cells cannot add up to 10, no matter what they are. So there cannot be a connection here, which forces the line to go down this way. Which means this has to be a 1, that's a 1. 4, 5. 4 and 5 have to connect to 8, so this has to be the 8. 4 and 5 have to connect to 6. And the 6 cannot connect to 3. But other than that, this seems rather unconstrained. 4 and 5 have to connect to 7. And the 8 can connect directly to 7, because that's more than 10. Adds up to 15. And so can this 6. Let's see, this column is 2, 5, 9. Not 9, there's no 9. 6. 5, 6, 2, 5, 4, 3, 7. And here we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This has to connect to a 7, and it could still connect to a 3 if there has to be a 3 here. Well, if there can't be a 7 here, there could be a 3 here. But there can't be a 2 here because it would have to connect to another 8. Or there could be a 2 here and it just gets skipped. We go up this way. Ah, no, there has to be an 8 up here. But it could just be here on the line. What about the 2 on this section of the line? Where does that go? Because if it's forced to be here, well, if, if there's a 2 in this cell, it would block a 2 from being anywhere up here. Meaning it would have to be here, which is necessarily a cell on the path. Which means that necessarily it has to be bordered by 2 8s. Which would make it have to be this cell, or this cell would have to be the 2, and these would have to be the 2 8s. Which I think is still possible. But if there's a 2 here, there could be easily a 2 up here off the path, and we wouldn't have to worry about it. I guess the next digit to worry about would be 3. Because if there's a 3 here, it would have to connect to a... 3 can only connect to 7 or 8. And if there's a 3 here, it has to be a 7 here, and there can't be an 8 here, so that would also have to be a 7, which... Actually, I guess that's fine as well. 4, 5, 6, 8. Ah, this row here, if there's a 2 here, a 2 can only be next to an 8, and it would have to be next to 2 8s. And if there's a 2 anywhere on this part of the line, there would have to be an 8 directly next to it. But there's an 8 here already, so there cannot be a 2 anywhere on this part of the line. So there has to be a 2 up here. And that means the only place for a 2 in this row is right here. That puts 5, 6, 4, 5, 7, 3, 2, 4. This still could go either way, actually. Because if this is a 3, then that's the 7. If this is the 7, it just goes directly. So this 3 has to connect to a 7. Because the 8's right there. That puts a 2 up here. And there can't be a 2 here in either of these two spots because there would have to be an 8 next to it. So this is a 1-2 pair off the line. These two digits are what? 3 and 8? Yeah, and 3 can only connect to 8 and 7. So if there's a 3 here, these two digits would have to be 8 and 7, which doesn't work. So that's 3 and 8 in that order. These have to be 4, 5, 6. The 4 cannot connect to the 5. That's the only disallowed connection here. So that means the 4 and the 5 cannot go in the middle cell because the other one would be next to it. So this has to be the 6. This has to be at least 6. Not a 9. There's no 9s in this puzzle. These digits are 1, 4, 5, 6. These digits are 2, 3, 7, 8. Ooh. These digits are 3, 4, 6, 7, 3, 7. These digits are 1, 2, 5, 8. It's a little cheap to just fill in all of the possibilities for like an entire section of the grid, but what are you gonna do about it? Nothing. Okay, so there has to be a 2 in here somewhere, and the 2 has to be next to 2 8s. Well, if it's on the line. If it's off the line, then that's fine. If there's a 2 here, it can't be on the line. Actually, the 2 cannot be on the line no matter where it goes. But there only needs to be one path for the line to go through this section anyways, so it doesn't really matter. This cannot be a 1. This can't be a 1. This can't be a 2 because it's on the path. So if this is an 8, that could be anything. The 1 has to go up here somewhere, so that means the path cannot go through here. This direction, if this is an 8, then, well, that could be anything. 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 7. I guess if the 1 and the 2 are back here, they're both like quarantined, so there's no problems. But that still leaves the 3. So this digit is next to at most a 6, which means it has to be at least 4. Interesting. At least 4. And that gives us a 4, 5, 6 triple, which means we can take the digits 4, 5, and 6 out of this column. That gives us 1, 2, and 8. I doubt there's going to be an 8 hidden in this section of the grid, because it's the easiest to connect stuff to. So 4, 5, 6 also means this has to be at least 4. And this has to be at least 3. Actually, yeah, there has to be a 4, 5, and 6 on this part of the line. We don't know what the fourth digit is. Well, the fourth digit is 3 or 7, right? 4, 5, 6, 3, 7. Whoops. The 3 has to go in between 7 or 8, but there could just be a 3 up here. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. That's not really good Sudoku, but who cares? The 3 cannot go here because it would be sandwiched between two 7s at most. The 3 could go here if it's between 8 and 7. No, the 3 cannot go here because if there's a 3 here, that puts a 7 here, and that breaks this because these have to be 3 and 7. So the 3 cannot go in this row. It has to go up here, putting a 7 and a 3 here. Which means the line does go up through the 7 here. Puts an 8 here. Puts a 5 there. Interesting. 4, 5. And this has to be at least 5. So we have 4, 5, 6, and 7 in some order. The 4 cannot connect to the 5, and that's the only constraint. So the 4 cannot go here because the 5, right, is already knocked out of this column. So the 5 has to go here, here, which means the 4 cannot go here. And that gives us a 6, 7 pair in this row. So that's 4 and 5. These are 6 and 7. And they could go in any order because they always add up to 10. However, because this is 4 or 5, this cannot be 4, or, well, cannot be 4. 4, 5, and 6. Oh, there's a 6, 7 pair in this column. So that takes 6 and 7 out of all the other possibilities in this column. So that's a 1, 2, 1, 3. And that does put a 2 into one of these 3 cells. So that path is going to be ignored or avoided. Let's see. This is 7. It could still be 3. There has to be an 8 down here, which is a bit unfortunate. The path, I don't think can go straight through here, because it would have to touch a 3. It would have to... The path would have to cross through a 3, which has to have 8s or 7s on both sides of it, which is impossible. So if there's a 3 here, and the path cannot go through it. If there's a 3 here, then it has to go this way. So the path has to go this way either way. Putting a 2 here, 7, 1, 6, 8, 4, 7, 5, 6, 4, 5. And I'm just going to fill out the rest of these digits. So what is it? 7, 4, 6, 5, 6, 4, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5. Yep. And that all adds up to 10. Experiment completed! Yippee! Sphinx continues to surpass predicted outcomes across all 4 cognitive performance metrics and will therefore progress to a full-size mage in Stage 3 with no further training required. Whoa, a full-size mage. Okay. And that will be, for next time, experiment number 3, Double Dutch. And until then... もうその時間でしょおやすみ